All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we are back with the TMCJ podcast. We are on episode 12 now, and big announcements today.
Yeah.
We have
Pregnant. No, sorry, go on.
which one of us?
Wow. Are you, you know what, let's not go there.
I am feeling a bit fat. No, what I was, we first topic today. We have actually expanded where the podcast is now available. Previously, we were just uploading this to YouTube, but now it is available. As of today, it's available on RSS.com, Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, and presumably at some point it'll be available on Google. I know I did the registration for it. I haven't seen it show up yet, so...
Yeah, I'm leaving that technical shizzle whizzle to you.
Yeah, gave myself a crash course in it last... What night was that? It was Thursday.
Probably.
But either way...
Most of the prep that I do for these sessions is like the day after So normally Sunday or Monday because I'm hyped from... hyped is the wrong word. I like recording these sessions, and then immediately after the sessions I'm like, I want to look up stuff, and so I do, and then by the time it comes around to Saturday again, I've forgotten most of it.
You're all like, you've got the spirit of the podcast, you're inspired. But yeah, so they're available now as of today. I haven't actually looked to see if anyone's listened or followed them yet, but they exist. You can now listen in audio format. And in fact, this podcast, what I am saying right now, well, actually, it'll be the second one that goes up. So I uploaded our entire backlog minus the test cases because those didn't... I wanted to start with the full ones. But that also means that the podcast starts at episode 4, which is going to be maybe confusing to some people. But they'll just have to find us on YouTube.
The ethos.
Oh, and after that long rant I had about how shit Twitter is last week, or was it last week or the week the week before last? We now, it seemed like we had to. I made a Twitter account for the podcast.
Yeah. Honestly, some of the rubbish that's on Twitter, it's quite amusing to me. I went on there for the first time yesterday in like, I don't know, several years. And I don't know if I can really talk about the kind of thing that was hashtagged. But yeah, there's some really weird stuff being hashtagged, and I don't understand Twitter users. Is the long and short.
The hashtag, how can you say that in a more tame way? Hashtag, a British slang word for people engaging in adult activities in the great outdoors.
Exactly. Normally in cars, and that was hashtagged as things happening in the UK right now. Slightly awkward, you know. And the other one was there was something else really. Oh yeah, no, some horrible thing that happened in France the other day. That's
which
was badly named, I think. Considering how many supposed snowflakes are on Twitter, that was incredibly insensitive to hashtag it that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's what the person did, so I suppose they can't really change that fact, but they could, make it a little bit less meme-ish.
I think, but that's the way. I mean, that's how communication seems to be now. It's things barely exist for 10 minutes before they get turned into a meme. Coronavirus got turned into a meme within weeks.
I don't know, maybe... I don't know. I think there is such thing as too soon, and...
Yeah. I personally agree.
I think it's important to make jokes of the bad things that happened. Like, make jokes about the Nazis, sure, that's fine. They're a terrible thing, and it's a sign that we're moving on at this late stage.
That we can make fun of them, yeah.
Yeah. But if you said that back in the day, I think that would be incredibly insensitive, and I think it kind of is now what they said.
I don't know, in the US we had a comic book where Captain America punched Hitler in the face.
That's not a joke, though. That's just... that's not making... I wouldn't say making light on the subject.
No, it was, it's a metaphor.
it's mocking them. So I suppose that was okay at the time. Anyway, if the Twitter article, if the hashtag was something that was mocking what happened in France,
Hmm.
then that's fine. But it's just repeating what the guy said. That's repeating his message.
Yeah.
Um, like, I don't think they would have started writing out Hitler's speeches in comics back in those days in America. Probably not.
Yeah, not doing like parodies of them or something like that. Um, yeah, I agree. I mean, I personally don't think people should be stopped from doing that, but it shows poor decorum.
No, you shouldn't stop people from doing it at all.
But
But
God,
they
sorry.
need to learn when it is and isn't appropriate. And I don't think Twitter is very good at deciding whether people. Well, I don't know.
God,
To be fair, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, all of these things at the moment have been deciding where their line is on what is and isn't allowed, and I think a lot of them are doing it quite badly.
yeah, and it's starting to. It's because they're not. That's not their intended purpose. They've started to arbitrate like what can and can't be said, what kind of conversations can and can't be had, and
Yeah.
it's not their place to do. They're companies that are maybe a few thousand people. They're mostly based in one tiny region of the U.S. Like, who are they to dictate what the rest of the world can do and say?
Yeah,
I think,
and they
yeah,
definitely have to. Like, when you get some of the some absolutely terrible things going up on YouTube, then yes, they absolutely
Well,
have
yeah,
to be
yeah.
taken down.
YouTube's got to,
Um,
yeah. If there's certain things that definitely, in video format, they have to be arbitrated. I'm more talking
Yeah.
about things like,
Doctor Disrespect.
yeah, that's a Twitch thing.
Yeah,
That's another one. No one still really knows why that guy got banned.
no one knows. And also, the latest thing on that, which I heard about yesterday, is that Shroud is a
Yeah.
friend
Oh,
of.
Just some background here because we're pivoting very quickly here.
Yeah, sorry.
Doctor Disrespect is a fairly prominent video game streamer. Previously on Twitch, he had some kind of a multi-million-dollar contract with Twitch. One day, Twitch banned him. Apparently, he was not informed. He didn't know about it. Twitch to date has never said anything about it. Twitch being a major video game streaming platform. I say video game streaming platform. These days, it seems mostly to be IRL streamers and tits, but it was ostensibly a video game streaming platform. So he got banned on that. He streams on YouTube now, has a fairly large audience. That's the background. Shroud also is another streamer. Go on with your story.
And what's more, not only is Doctor Disrespect banned from the platform, but people who are playing games with Doctor
Dr.
Disrespect, so they are also getting banned. Like, you cannot even associate with him. And so
That's kind of sketchy.
one of the things that Shroud said very recently on one of his streams was that there is a game where I can't remember what the name of the game is. I'm sorry. Where they have done a collab with Doctor Disrespect. Doctor Disrespect has his own entire map on that game, and there is a playable character skin of Doctor Disrespect in the game. And Shroud is suggesting that possibly you can't even equip that skin because Twitch may ban you just for wearing a skin in a game that resembles Doctor Disrespect. Now it's all just hearsay. Like, this is just Shroud's opinion, but given his position in Twitch, he's a very popular streamer with a lot of know-how of the inside of the industry. Like, that's kind of scary to think that just equipping a skin in game could potentially cut your income.
Yeah, exactly. These people who... That's something that I don't think there are adequate protections in place for when it comes to these social platforms in general. People who make their livings on YouTube, make their livings on Twitch, make their livings on whatever these different streaming or video sharing platforms are. Having these companies being able to arbitrarily decide, oh, yeah, you did something we aren't really a fan of, you're gone. That there needs to be more adequate protections put in place from a legal sense, I think, because I don't think these platforms, that wasn't what was originally happening. Like when YouTube came up, it was just some quirky video sharing site. When Twitch started, it was just like a fun way to go like, hey, look, I'm playing a video game, you guys can watch me. I don't think the huge monetary industries that have grown up around these things have been adequately vetted, because you're right, these companies can just arbitrarily go like, we're going to shut your lights off.
Yep.
It's the same sort of things that would happen in like, in the Industrial Revolution with factory workers. It's like, oh, we're so sorry you lost your hand, but you're fired.
Yeah. There's no fallbacks. There's no safety net. I think with YouTube, I don't know if it's the same with Twitch, but they have strikes. So 3 strikes and you're out, as it were.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you're able to rescind strikes. Like if you fix a video or bring it down or such, I think they are permanent, which is a bit scary.
My understanding from having, like, so I've had the YouTube channel for quite a while now, and I have had copyright strikes go up on my channel. But there's a difference. There's like a copyright claim and a copyright strike. A copyright claim is where they don't want the video taken down, but they want, to monetize the video for them, or to have it edited out. You can do that too. They can either block it, or they can choose to put ads on your video, and then I had one that I disputed, and it got ruled on in my favor. There was a demo of a game I was playing, and apparently the music in one of the cutscenes was copyrighted. And I was like, it's a video game. I'm talking over the music. I have no idea why this got copyrighted. And it got overturned. I don't... Oh, crap. There's my alarm going off. We are recording this thing very early today.
Bright and early.
Yeah, even earlier. Last week we started recording at 7:40. This week we started recording at just before 6 Eastern time. But yeah,
it's a beautiful day in England. You cannot see the sky for all the clouds, and
well, I said this before we started. It's raining pretty hard here. I can hear it coming down outside my window. But enough about the weather. Yeah, so copyright. I think you're right. Copyright strikes, they can be removed, but it's a much more involved and complicated process.
Yeah. You quite often see the bigger YouTubers having like these getting together with other big YouTubers and a whole bunch of fans and signing petitions and things to get channels unbanned and such. Which I think it's very nice to see the community working together, and I think it's a very good way also for it's going to sound mad, but it's a good way for creators, content creators, to kind of meet each other and
networking,
share an interest, because they're all in the same boat.
It's the YouTuber equivalent of networking.
Yeah. Well, except it's for a really it's an unfortunate
it's for a shit
circumstance.
reason.
Yeah. But no, hopefully we never get to that stage.
Yeah.
For all the people we slander on the podcast.
Oh god. Yeah, at this point this is firmly within the hobby space.
Yep.
Alright, well, so pivoting right along, we I think that we've talked about our little expansion and then gone off onto a whole nother social media rant. I think you had something you wanted to talk about, specifically RuneScape, right?
Yeah? Okay, cool. We're ready for this. Okay, this is just not...
You should give kind of a quick background on what RuneScape is, because I barely know what it is. I mean, I know it's a game, and I know people waste tons of time on it, but I have no idea beyond that.
Okay, so RuneScape is a very old game. You play it on a browser, typically. It's just come out on Steam, but that's beside the point. This game came out in like 2000 or something, maybe even before that. I played it as a very young child, and I've kind of came back to it about 10 years later when I realised it had been re-released. And it still has really old graphics, and a lot of the people who play it are people who played it in their childhood and they've come back to it and they're still playing it, like after all this time. It was very much, I think, a competitor with World of Warcraft. So basically, when I was at school, everyone either played RuneScape or World of Warcraft. It's kind of like a PlayStation Xbox thing. Anyway, because the game has been around for such a long time, there have been people exploiting the heck out of this game. Whether through like bots or just straight up cheating. There's like crazy gambling rings in it. I'm not even kidding. People make a lot of money, real money, off of this game. And that's kind of where this story kind of starts with, because it's, how can I put this? Like I said, you can make real money off of this game. Not legally, like the people Jagex who made the game do not want this happening, but you can buy in-game money with real money, essentially.
Yeah.
And likewise, you can buy armor and weapons and skills and things like that. So there's a country which it's Venezuela, where at one point they were having a really bad time with their economics, right? So they were hyperinflated.
I mean, they kind of still are.
Yeah, well, I don't know what their current thing is. This is not a new story. I don't know when this actually happened, but I remember hearing about it at the time, but I didn't pay much attention to it.
Venezuela's had a rough go of it in general.
Yeah, and people were so... It was such a poor country that it costs like, I don't know, I think someone said about £40, £80, I can't remember, something like that, to get a passport to leave the country.
It's pretty ridiculous. And tell the story, and then I'll... To give some context, okay. Venezuela actually is... This is the sad part, is one of the most resource-rich countries in South America. But they have such shit government and economic policies, and have had like a repeated... They had a brief stint of prosperity before their government went entirely to shit again. And yeah, it's just sad, because they could be the most wealthy nation in South America, but they've just handled the like insane abundance that their country has poorly. So yeah, they've had crazy hyperinflation. Yeah. A little bit of background. Go on.
So the average working wage dropped to somewhere below $5 a week at one point. I think it was $5 a week. It might have been. It might have even been crazier than that.
Yeah, it sounds about right.
And so people were actually, like, en masse, Venezuelan people worked out that you could make more money playing RuneScape as a 9-to-5 job, 5 days a week, than actually getting a proper job. So people would, load up RuneScape, and they would find they could actually make about doing the exact same task in RuneScape constantly for a whole working day. They could make like $5 a day.
I mean, that's a similar story to the World of Warcraft gold farmers in China.
Yeah, I mean, that's what this is. This is gold farming. But yes, and so the number of gold farmers in the game like rocketed, obviously, because people wanted to earn a living in Venezuela.
It's honestly, it's incredibly inventive. It's resourceful. You know, good on them.
But you do kind of get this paradox of it is. I don't know. It's a double-bladed sword. The people who made the game, they obviously don't want people selling money selling their in-game money, because the people who are buying the in-game money are probably like 10-year-olds using their parents' credit cards.
Yeah,
and that's morally that's wrong. But at the same time, if you ban enough of these accounts, every time you ban one of these accounts where it's a person who's trying to make a living off of this game, at the same time it's like, well, I don't know, it feels wrong. It's entirely the Venezuelan government's fault, But I don't know.
Yeah.
What's your take?
I mean, personally, I kind of gave a little bit of it away right off the bat. Like, I think I have a lot of respect for the people who are doing it, like the people who are actually doing the farming, because
it is mind numbing.
when you're at like one of those, like in those desperate situations, like just being that inventive and creative and finding like an alternative way to actually, in that case, quintuple their income, because they were making $5 a week before. Now they're making $5 a day. I'm assuming they're working 5 days a week. They might do that all 7 days.
Yeah,
great. That being said, on the other side, you're talking about the potential of it being just some kid using their parents' credit card to buy stuff. Part of that, like this is an issue that I have a kind of a complex opinion on. I personally don't have any problem with it in principle. If it's just any normal person like buying the money, I think that makes perfect sense. I know I personally, playing games like that now as an adult, I'm like, I work more than 50 hours a week. I don't have time to grind like I used to in video games. Which is why a lot of the times I don't really play MMOs or games like that, because they do sink. It's quite a bit of a time investment. That being said, I think some of the responsibility for those kids blowing all that money is on the parents. Like, part of it is like, okay, this kid probably, the parents should have educated them better on how to deal with like money and finances and things like that. And part of it's on the games themselves. There's a lot of games where ostensibly they're okay for kids to play, but this goes back to the whole loot box controversy, because they're essentially, it's programming kids to want to gamble early. But this is different. Like, the whole RuneScape thing is a little bit different, because it's not like they're gambling. It's not a game of chance. They're learning about an actual transaction. I pay this money and I get this value in return, right?
Well, not always in the game, but I'll come on to that in a bit.
Okay. Well, I personally don't think it's too bad of a thing. I think it's an overall good. It's good for the people in Venezuela who are actually able to find a better source of income. And I think, despite maybe the fact that some kids, in some instances, there was probably somebody who blew way more money than they should have. But overall, even if it was like a kid taking their parents' credit card to do it, maybe if they spent too much, they learn a life lesson. And maybe they learn a little bit about economics. Or maybe their parent, takes the credit card and puts their fist through their computer. I don't know what kind of household they're in.
I mean, hopefully the parents learn a life lesson, that is not to give their kids a credit card. But
I actually... quick thing. Little side notes talking about finances when you're a kid. I actually had a credit card in middle school. And it wasn't like my own. You're not allowed to have your own when you're a kid, because they won't. I think you have to be 16 or something like that in the U.S. and then you can get one, and it has to be through a bank or something like that. But no, when I was young, like 10 or 11, my mother got me a credit card that was attached to her account that only had like a $500 limit. Which was still an enormous amount for a kid my age. So I could have easily just like blown it on a whole bunch of random shit. But I mean, she did it as kind of a way to teach me how to deal with finances at an early age.
Imagine all the Yu-Gi-Oh cards you could buy.
Yeah. That's. I mean, I did. I put that down to like my financial habits now, in that like I charge everything to a credit card, but I pay it off instantly. I hate being in debt or having like
anyone,
exactly, or having I never spend more than I actually have, and I think that's part of it. That's why even the whole RuneScape kids paying money out thing, and I think it might help teach them how to deal with finances, even if there's a few of them that go way overboard and end up fucking themselves over. Yeah, little aside there. You were going
I
into
was gonna
something.
say, so regarding people actually getting something from the paying into RuneScape, there are actually there's a place called the Jewel Arena,
Hmm.
and also to an extent the Wilderness, where players can fight each other, and if you die, you drop everything that you have on the ground, and the other person can pick it up.
Oh, banditos.
So there are there are endless numbers of tricks and scams and things like that, and literal gambling rings inside of the game where people say, you know, if I, in fact, there's some Twitch streamers who the people who are watching their stream will give the person who's streaming money at a percentage, right? So the Twitch stream will literally be like, right, I want, come on, can someone give me like 10 mil, and I'll give you, you know, 150%, you know, back.
Oh my.
Yeah, and I don't understand. Like, this is people who have real gambling addictions, and
Yeah.
apparently one Twitch streamer, you were watching his stream, and over the weeks, it was really weird. Apparently, you literally saw the things in the back of his like camera disappearing. Like, at one point, it's like the curtains, then the TV and stuff,
Oh
and
my.
he's just selling this stuff off to pay for in-game RuneScape stuff, which he's just losing.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I.
So
That's kind of fucked up. Like,
yeah.
I personally, we've talked. I like I take an occasional trip to the casino. I haven't been to a casino actually in years, but there's
Probably not
one.
since we were with me.
Yeah, well, that's actually true. The last
The
casino I went to
Bristol.
was probably in the UK.
Yeah.
But it was actually in Bristol before
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
visited you. I went to that casino across the way, and actually I won quite a bit of money there.
Yeah.
Um,
We all know about your luck.
well, no, but that's the thing. Like, gambling, I don't have a problem with it. I just you need to go in with the right mindset. You can't chase money. You can't go in there thinking you're gonna win big. You can't keep coming back to it like it's a source of income.
Yeah.
Like,
Everything you go in with, you've got to expect to lose.
exactly. Like, if I go, like, I like playing blackjack when I go to a casino. If I go to a casino and say I bring like $500 and I'm like, this is my $500. I'm gonna gamble with this. I'm gonna expect to just lose it. I'll just assume that this is $500 I'm gonna play with all night. If I walk away with some of that, great. If I walk away with more than that, great. If I walk away with none of that, great. Either way, I had fun playing a game all night, hanging out with people, right?
Yeah.
And I never go. You never go to I don't understand people who go to a casino alone. But anyway, point being, the gambling addiction thing, that is a real. You see this. This is why a lot of the people were starting to call. When I say a lot of the people, a lot of gaming centric YouTubers that I follow were starting to call loot boxes and things like that, casinos and gambling, because you see these people who play games like FIFA,
Oh,
or anything like that, and you can essentially roll the dice to get good characters and stuff, and it's like, oh, it's like $5 for a pack, and you might
Yeah.
get some good stuff in it, or you might get shit. And people would drop, like, this was in Europe, the story I was reading, guy spent like something like 30,000 euros on
Yeah.
one game within the course of a year. And that that's there needs to be. So whenever you advertise gambling in the U.S., a lot of the times they'll always have like a gambler support hotline, like problems with gambling addiction, call 1-800 blah blah blah.
Yeah, it's by law they have to.
Yeah. Okay, so it's the same thing over there.
Yeah, although I don't know, they have to include it, but they include it in the smallest goddamn text, or they make it's the slogan is when the fun stops, stop, right?
Yeah.
But the word fun is in this super jazzy, like lights
Oh.
looking font, so they actually make it look like a positive thing.
See,
Which
I
is a bit-
don't. I don't know if maybe it's by regulation here, but anytime I see that warning, it's actually in big prominent text. And
Yeah.
it's not like made to look fancy in any way. That I don't know if that's a U.S. thing or just a thing in my state, but
I mean, that's how it should be, really. It should be
yeah.
front and center, you know.
But what I'm leading up to here is I think we are getting to a point where games that have those types of mechanics in them, um, I mean, the RuneScape thing, there's not really much you can do that because it's almost like it's an underground gambling den in a video game.
Yeah.
There's not too much you can do to fix that.
You can also just straight up pay the creators of the game, though, to get money in game. Unfortunately.
Oh yeah. Well,
Because you can buy membership, and you can sell those tokens that they give you to redeem the membership for in-game currency.
see that I'm not so I don't have as much of a problem with that because
No.
it's a straight up transaction. You know what you're getting. It's not a
Yeah.
it's not a roll of the dice.
Although market prices for membership does change,
Mhm.
so one day it might be more expensive than another, etc. So
And again, that's also just economics.
yeah, I think it's a really good the Grand Exchange, which is basically the stock market in RuneScape.
Yeah.
I think that's really good for teaching people how money works and how the value of things changes. But sorry, I kept interrupting you.
No. That's go on. That's the kind of conversation this is. I mean,
Mm.
is this doesn't have to be like we're just trading off having a monologue. But yeah, I think that's completely. So we're coming up on the end of segment one. So I'll just I have one final thought, and I'll let you kind of have the last word. But I think stuff like that is very important for exactly that reason. At least in the U.S., financial and monetary education isn't really a priority. Like in schools, like there's some nicer schools will have like an optional finance class or something like that. But if you learn how to deal with money, at least in my experience, it's typically from friends or family or outside circumstances besides education.
Yeah, I can't say I've really ever been given any actual lessons from this about this kind of thing. But likewise with it also it's quite good for telling you about upselling, because take wooden logs in the game, for example. There's U logs which might sell for, let's say, 10 pieces of gold, right? If you buy a U log and then you have the skill to turn it into those logs into a longbow, and then sell it on for 16 GP gold pieces, then that shows, okay, right, I invested 10, I changed it, increased the value by 6, and then sold it back off again. That's upselling. I mean, there's a lot of things I think that can be learnt from. It's quite a good replica of how things work in real life in a lot of senses.
Yeah, no, it teaches you how markets and economics actually work. That's really cool. That I've always been fascinated with that, like when video games can emulate just unexpected aspects of real life and real society.
Yeah.
All right, well, that ended up actually being a really surprisingly interesting conversation that went in ways I wasn't expecting.
Started on Twitter and ended up with economy.
Yeah, right? Yeah, we're a finance podcast now.
The full scale. Yes, we know everything there is to know about money. You invest in us, okay, and we will give you more money. Pyramid schemes.
Would you like to play money-making game? Yeah. All right. So that is going to be the end of segment 1. We will be back in just a few moments with segment number 2, media. Stay tuned, and thank you for listening. And we're back with the TMCJ podcast. We are on segment 2, media. We actually got a couple things to talk about on this segment this week.
Yeah.
Because we did have movie night.
We did. We've just had so much stuff happen this week. It's been great.
That's going to be a jam-packed podcast. I mean, segment 1 already was pretty jam-packed.
Yeah.
Normally that's the easiest one to keep to time, but we went over, and honestly, we probably could have gone for a lot longer.
Oh, yes. I mean, it was only 5 minutes over. That's quite impressive for us, to be honest. Only 5 minutes over.
Oh, man.
Where are we starting on the media?
Well, let's start with the movie that we both saw
Cool.
pretty recently. So the movie we
Troy.
watched, Troy, yes, the 2004. I think I guessed it was 2004 last week, and I never actually looked it up.
Pretty good for 2004. I mean, the graphics were like...
Oh, yeah. It was a beautiful movie for the time, and just excellent. So I've seen the movie before. It was my pick, so I will give my opinion second, but I want to hear your thoughts first because you hadn't seen it.
Okay, so as something that I've said previously and throughout that film, the younger prince of Troy absolutely hated him as a character.
Paris is his name, by the way.
Is it?
Yeah, his name is Paris.
What? Really? But like, hang on. So how? I don't know. I'm gonna have a question that's gonna be probably really dumb. So maybe I won't say it. But like,
the two princes of Troy are Hector and Paris. The younger one
Hector,
is Paris.
Normal name for that time, but Paris? Like, was Paris a
I
thing
think that's
back
his...
in the time of Troy?
Well, that may be where the name Paris comes from. I have no idea.
Oh. Well, that's not a good thing, I don't think, personally. Was not a fan of his character. He single-handedly was responsible for every death that happened. And he's also, like, he committed to a fight and then he ran away from it. So, no respect in my book. And he survived. He's like one of the very few main characters that kind of survived after the film, and he like was the least deserving of it.
Yeah, is that the lesson? Be a pussy, you'll live.
Well, yeah, I guess live hard, die young, or live like a little bitch and survive. That being said, like the leader of Troy, I like that old man. He was cool, even if he was misguided by his certain members of his congregation. And I was pretty sad when he died, because I mean the whole scene where he went to the enemy and kissed the hands of the one who murdered his son, that was pretty touching.
Should preface this. There's going to be a lot of spoilers in this, but the movie's 16 years old. If you haven't seen it already, go out and see the fucking movie. And honestly,
also, if you haven't seen the movie, you probably won't understand what we're talking about.
And the other thing is, it's been spoiled for the last 5,000 years. Like, the movie follows the Trojan War, the Iliad, if you don't know, which is an ages-old story. But there will be spoilers. But the scene Blue's talking about, Hector duels Achilles outside of the gates of Troy and loses, and Achilles, still bereaved over the death of his cousin, drags Hector behind his chariot in the sand, not giving him any proper burial rites, and just is going to leave him to rot. But Priam, the king of Troy, goes out, sneaks out in just normal robes into Achilles' tent, and does that. He says, I've done what no man on earth has endured. I've kissed the hands of the man who murdered my son, just to get his son's body back, and they have this little peace moment.
Yeah, and Hector was one of my favourite characters, I got to admit. Also a big fan of Sean Bean.
He plays Odysseus.
I really hope that they, maybe they did, maybe they didn't, that Sean Bean, stars in the Odyssey. That came immediately after this in history, I'm pretty sure.
Yep, the Iliad and the Odyssey.
Journey back after the Trojan horse that Odysseus and his men on their ship, the Odyssey. I think that the ship was called the Odyssey, wasn't it?
I don't know if the ship was called the Odyssey. It'd be kind of weird because the guy's name is Odysseus.
Well, yeah, I don't know. Amazing stories if you want to look them up, because I mean I'm sure most people have heard them, like just things like the Cyclops. That's where that came from.
Yeah.
The Golden Fleece, the sirens that would bring men ashore and destroy their boats and eat them, kind of thing.
When they all get high on a poppy field.
Yeah, lots of interesting little stories built into that character. Which I mean, did they kind of do a?
I don't know if they did a
sequel,
movie.
'cause it sounds like it's cheapening it, but
Yeah, a sequel. I don't think they ever did. I think they just made Troy. It'd be really cool if they made like a follow-up movie and cast him and just did that, but I don't think they did. We'll have to look it up after this, but because I don't. But yeah,
I know there are films of the Odyssey, just not with them.
so one of the things that but before we get into discussion about this is a good part for it. Sean Bean's character Odysseus, you said you did really like him. One point that I had, so I saw the movie in theaters when it first came out, and but then years and years later I was like, oh, I really like that movie, and I saw it Blu-ray director's cut on Amazon. It's on sale for like $15 or something like that. I was like, okay, I loved this movie as a kid, I'm gonna get it and take a look at it. So I grabbed it and watched it, and there's a lot of scenes in the director's cut, like they did the whole, like they enhanced it, made it look prettier and stuff, but there's a lot of scenes they cut out or that are put back in the director's cut that they're not like just. When we talked about the Blues Brothers, we talked about how a lot of the stuff they added in to the extended cut was just more crash scenes, more chase scenes. It didn't really add a lot to the story.
Filler.
Yeah. With this movie, it added a ton of like character depth and development. Like there's a whole other scene between the King of Sparta and Hector that establishes their characters better. There's more interactions between Hector and Paris that speaks to their dynamic.
This was not a short film either. Like even the cut version, we split into two watching because it was just too late at the night that we couldn't finish it all in one sitting.
2 hours, and I think the cut version is a little over 2.5 hours. The extended cut, I want to say, is just shy of 3 hours, so like 2 hours 45, 2 hours 50, something like that.
Yep.
But one of the scenes, and this is why I bring up the director's cut, you would have loved this scene if you liked Odysseus as a character. Before he goes to try and recruit Achilles for the Trojan War, there's a whole scene where the messengers go to recruit him, Odysseus. And it's funny because like the two messengers go up and they find him sitting on a hill just playing with two dogs in just like a normal robe. And they ask him. They say they're seeking Odysseus, the king of Ithaca. Where is he, or something like that. And he says something like, oh, what should I care about that swine, or something like that. And there's like, you should have more respect for your king. And he says something along the lines of, it's like, respect. That man paws at my wife. He always drinks my wine and never pays. And then the messengers just like wave him off like, oh, fuck off. And then they start to walk away. And he just calls back and he's like, I certainly hope... Oh, what the hell is the guy's name? The king who starts the whole war.
Oh my god. Agamemnon.
Agamemnon, yeah. He's like, I certainly hope Agamemnon's... soldiers or I hope Agamemnon's generals are smarter than his messengers. And they turn back and they're like, what? And then he's like, you want me to help you fight the Trojans? And he's like, and then they realize, oh shit, this is the king.
Yeah.
And it starts off like, it gives more character development. It builds him up as like this clever like person, like this clever and trickster kind of guy. He has like this
I don't think he's particularly clever, and the parts that I've seen him in the film.
Well, if you remember the scene between him and Achilles when they first meet up, and Achilles is like, play your tricks on me, but not my cousin.
I meant Achilles does not come over as particularly
Oh,
smart.
Achilles isn't. Yeah, he's a man of straight lines, as it were.
Mm-hmm. Not quite Ajax, but
Oh my God, Ajax.
on that way.
Ajax is a character I feel like we needed a little bit more of.
Yeah, like I said, I knew him because of Age of Mythology, and he was my favourite character in Age of Mythology. I can't explain why, he just was.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a shame that he died so fast, but he did die to my other favourite character in the film, so
Yeah, there you go.
it was pretty cool.
There were quite a few, and I do agree with you. Hector was also one of my favorite characters.
Mm.
And I'm pretty sure when I saw the movie in theater, I was 16 when I saw the movie in theaters. So I... Oh, excuse me, I nearly just burped right into the microphone.
Lovely.
When I saw the movie, I'm pretty sure when I first saw Paris in the theaters, like, I went with one of my friends and her family, and I remember Paris was like dreamy, he was so hot and everything like that. I was like, he's such a fucking pussy.
He is hot, like the fucking Pirates of the Caribbean that he plays, the role he plays. Every role that he's been set in, he's meant to be the
pretty boy.
dreamboat.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I kind of hate him for it because
Same
even
thing in he was in Lord of the Rings. He played Legolas.
This is true. Okay, in Lord of the Rings as Legolas, he was fucking awesome. But okay, I suppose that kind of breaks my rule. But
Well, yeah,
I
2 out of 3.
don't know. He in Lord of the Rings though, he was a witty character who was also, he had very strong morals. He was very honourable, and you don't see that in any of his, like the Pirates of the Caribbean or Troy.
I think you're right. It is a better, it's a better written character. Legolas was a more well-developed, well-defined
But
character.
they're all pretty boys, yeah.
They
Even
were all
Legolas.
pretty boys. Well, yeah, he played a fucking elf.
Yeah. King of the elves.
But
or prince, actually.
Yeah.
There's a lot of princes.
He does actually. Well, he doesn't. Well, Pirates of the Caribbean, he's just a nobody pirate who's turned blacksmith apprentice.
But he's also kind of a prince in that.
He becomes a prince of the pirates.
Basically, yeah. I mean, considering Elizabeth is a queen.
Not a queen. She's the daughter of the governor of like a overseas British colony in the Caribbean. Which,
but, yeah, I don't know.
I guess the
She
local
got more
equivalent.
balls than him.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you definitely see that in the in that series. But I agree. Paris in that I don't know if it's been a long time since I've read the Iliad because we had to read it in school, the Iliad and the Odyssey.
Right.
And I did enjoy them at the time, but it's been years and years since I've actually read it. So I don't remember if Paris is portrayed as such a pussy in the actual original work, or if that's just a choice they made for the movie.
Yeah, there were a lot of choices that were subtly made for the movie, I think, that were quite obvious. So at the end, how I said how was it really the daughter of the king of Troy that stabs Agamemnon?
Right, yeah.
It seems a bit too
contrived,
colourful flavor text
the
for
thing is,
reality.
I think Hector and Paris's mother actually plays a bit more of a prominent role in the original work. Or maybe it was...
you don't see her at all in the movie.
Yeah, exactly. There was... it was either their mother or Briseis's mother. But anyway, it doesn't really matter. So, something I will say, and we're ragging on Paris in the movie quite a bit.
Yeah.
But I think they did a good job. He had a good character arc, even if he's not a very likable character. Because he starts off as this, wide-eyed youth who's he's not the firstborn son, so he doesn't have to worry about governing. He basically is just he practices archery, he rides around, bangs a lot of women, and then, goes home and is just like the spoiled younger son.
Yeah.
But the whole, like, he falls in love for real with this woman who is married to the king of Sparta, takes her home, starts a massive war between Greece and Troy, and thinks that he can duel her former husband and win out, and he has a very rude awakening when this guy, like, beats the ever-loving shit out of him and almost kills him. And then by the end of the movie, he's sort of hardened himself a little bit, but even, like, right where he is at the very end, he shoots Achilles, like the pussy that he is. Even then, he's thinking that he's hardened himself and he understands things, and you can see it in his face at the end there when Briseis and Achilles are embracing, even as Achilles is dying. It's like you can kind of see the wheels turning in his head, like he still didn't understand fully.
Yeah.
He has... I don't think he gets to the point where he's a fully matured person, but you can see him grow throughout the movie. So, some credit there. He does get better. But,
I'm not sure about that. But
I'm trying really hard to give him some credit. I'm really trying.
Yeah.
But I don't like it either.
When it said he was going to fight the husband, I was like, oh, brilliant. It's going to be like... He's gonna actually start doing something useful for a change, and then he fucks it up even worse. So I just lost all faith at that point.
Yeah. But
then
oh my
Achilles
God.
had just saved his sister from a lifetime of horrible things, and then he shoots Achilles. So
Yeah.
even less respect.
Yeah, she was gonna end up being like a slave, and well, yeah, to Agamemnon.
Not good stuff. Yeah.
There are some really good moments and good one-liners in that movie. One of my favorite ones, we're talking about the duel between the King of Sparta and Paris, and one of my favorite lines is after he's kicked Paris's ass and Paris is like running over and hiding behind his brother's leg, when he just like looks up at the wall where his former wife is and just screams, "Is this what you left me for?"
Yeah.
That line just, it amuses me. Like, probably not for the right reasons, but because again, the guy's an asshole, a boorish asshole, and one of the scenes that's cut out from earlier in the movie, which establishes just how much of like a prick the King of Sparta is. They in the scene where they're having that dinner in Sparta, and it's they're drinking a peace and whatever, and Hector and Paris are there for the negotiations. After Paris is kind of before Paris has wandered off with the King of Sparta's wife, Hector and him are having a little bit of a conversation, and the dancers that come down, the King of Sparta. I'm saying the King of Sparta because I can't remember the guy's fucking name.
Agamemnon's brother, yeah.
Yeah, Agamemnon's brother. And he points out one of the dancers, and he's like, "Oh, what do you think of these?" and whatnot. And he's essentially offering Hector
an alternative.
Offering Hector like, "Oh, like, would you like to, have one of these women tonight?" essentially. Yeah. And he's like, "Thank you, it's very kind, but my wife waits for me in Troy." And the Spartan king just points to his wife, who's still at the table, and goes, "My wife waits for me right there." And he's like, "Don't you understand? Wives are for breeding, for making little princes. Enjoy yourself tonight." And then Hector just does a very, very shrewd, like, political statement there, and just tips his cup up, and he goes like, "You make excellent wine in Sparta," and he just takes a sip, as in like, "No, I'm happy with the drink." Like, it was, it establishes right off that
Yeah, they do a pour one out for the gods, which
Yeah,
I found quite funny.
I really like that tradition too. I thought that was really cool. And they do it several times in the movie.
Yeah.
Um, but I thought that scene again. This is why I like the director's cut, because they add a lot of character building moments. Because that scene establishes Agamemnon's brother, the king of Sparta, as again more of a boorish asshole, and why that marriage was not like why his wife wanted to run away from that marriage. And it establishes Hector as this shrewd, thoughtful person.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, so I could go on and talk about that movie quite a bit because I really do love it.
Well, did we have any other topics for the this segment?
So if we're done talking about final thoughts on Troy, and then I did have one other point on media. If you didn't have anything else,
Go
but
for
yeah, I'll give you final thought. First time seeing it.
I liked all the characters. I thought it looked pretty good for the time that it was made, and I liked that it's, although it does deviate slightly, it was mostly historically accurate.
And I think that's where I'll echo that for my final thought on it. I agree. That's one of the reasons I enjoy it. I'm a big history buff, and while it does take some creative license with the original history, it does a very good job sticking closely to historical accuracy, and trying to stay as close to the source material as possible. So yeah, great movie. So I did have other things I've been watching this week that I thought I could talk about, unless there was something really pressing for you that you wanted to get out.
No, go ahead.
So I've been watching the original Star Trek movies.
Right.
Because I realized they were on Amazon Prime for free. I skipped the first one. I don't even know what it is, but I wanted to watch Wrath of Khan because I've heard that it's like the classic Star Trek movie, and it's really good. Now, full disclosure, I'm not really a Star Trek fan. Like, I've never seen the original series, and it was only like 2 years ago I watched Star Trek: The Next Generation for the first time. Great series. But it was the second Star Trek series. That's the one with Patrick Stewart playing Jean-Luc Picard. Great series. But I never watched the originals with Kirk and Spock and all them. I saw the remakes when they came out, and I saw those years ago when they first came out.
Yeah, I saw a couple of the movies, but it was kind of before my time, I think. It was...
Oh, yeah, they were... The original series was in the 70s. But these movies came out. Wrath of Khan, the first one, came out in 1982, I want to say. I watched it. It was actually quite good. And then that made me want to watch the one that was a follow-up to it, the third movie. It has some cheesy moments because it's clearly based on like kind of this 70s low-budget sci-fi series. But because it had those kind of cheesy low-budget moments, the writing kind of had to stand up on its own a little bit more.
Yeah.
And I think they do a really good job of that, especially in the first movie, having this... It's less... So the Star Trek Into Darkness is the remake of Wrath of Khan. The one they did in the new series, like with all the new actors, came out in like 2012 or something like that.
Gotcha.
And that is much more an action movie, where it's like two big powerhouse people essentially just having a giant punch-up in space, is the way I could describe the remake of it. The original one is much more a battle of wits. I found like there's a lot more, like watching through it, there was a lot more intrigue and like moves and counter moves, like double agents and trying to get the upper hand on somebody using any advantage they can. It's between Khan and Kirk.
An information war more than...
Yeah, it's more like two intellectual powerhouses trying to outthink each other. And there are action scenes in it and some, but they're more conservatively distributed throughout the movie. Like, it isn't just one giant exploding spectacle after another.
Yeah, gotcha. It's not a Transformers movie.
Exactly, it's not made by Michael Bay.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen much. So whenever I think of Star Wars,
Star Trek.
I just insulted everyone. I was gonna say,
whenever I think of Trek Wars,
space adventures kind of thing, I either go to Star Wars or to Red Dwarf.
I've actually seen Red Dwarf.
I love Red Dwarf.
I think I might be the only person in America that's seen the Red Dwarf, but sorry, go on.
Yeah, it's quite British. And a very, very old series, Red Dwarf is, but it's very funny. Actually, I don't know. Do you find it funny? I feel like a lot of the jokes are probably aimed towards the British public.
They are, and when I watched it, there were some things that made me laugh or entertain me, but there were quite a few things where I could tell the series was trying to be funny, and I just didn't get it.
Yeah, I think there's also like the age thing. Like, if I watched it now, I definitely would not find it as funny because a lot of the jokes are time based.
Yeah,
and also you probably just couldn't get away with some of the things that they said because of, snowflake culture.
Yeah,
but sorry, that's totally away from Star Trek. But I don't really have any. I never watched Star Trek or the what's the something Troopers.
Oh, Starship Troopers.
Yeah, I never watched any of them.
Starship Troopers is a interesting one. I never watched it until long after it came out. That was another one I only watched in the last few years. And I actually went through the audiobook. By the way, the original work, so much different than the movie. Other than the name of the main character, which I think even that they alter. The movie is fairly different. In the movie Starship Troopers, pretty good movie. The original one. I think the remakes got kind of they became cheesy action movies, but the original one, pretty good in terms of character writing. The story's surprisingly deep. The book is less a work of fiction and more a book on philosophy, I'd say.
Right.
I feel, after going through the book, I feel like it was just a way for the author to write down his political philosophy.
Yes. Are there actual good lessons in it then? I could take away from it?
I think because the book Starship Troopers is much more kind of a treatise on self-reliance and personal responsibility and discipline. Because the author is very clearly of a libertarian mindset. He's somebody.
Is this? I think I'm getting series confused in my head. Is this the one where they go through portals, wormholes?
That's Stargate.
Oh, fuck me. Yeah,
that's Stargate.
Okay,
I'm talking about Starship Troopers.
Yeah.
Stargate, another excellent series. There are three of them: the Stargate SG-1, Stargate Atlantis, and Stargate Universe. I've seen all three series the whole way through. Pretty good. I actually think I talked about Stargate Universe on an earlier podcast because I had just finished it.
Probably. We do repeat ourselves a little bit.
I mean, we've been going on long enough to repeat ourselves. Look at that.
Yeah. Was this 12th episode?
Yes, we're on episode 12 now. Yeah.
Yeah, we've been talking for almost 20 hours now.
Oh, come on. We've been talking much longer than that. We just have only been recording it for 20 hours.
Well, yes. Man, almost a full day of content for someone to just sit and listen to our voices drone on.
Listen to the dulcet tones as we give our random opinions on nonsensical topics.
Politics that are from a fictional world, so don't really matter, and also occasionally in the real world.
Oh yes.
It's alright. I took your topic there.
No, it's fine. We're kind of coming up on the end here, but point being, yeah, if you get the chance, even if you don't really know much about the original Star Trek series, like if you haven't watched it, I've watched 0 episodes from the original Star Trek. I didn't even watch the first Star Trek movie. I just jumped right into Wrath of Khan, and it was still a very good movie. I just had the basic knowledge of who Kirk was and who Spock was, and
that's one of the things that scares me off from these. Like, I know we've just passed the 30-minute mark, but much like Warhammer, it's such a big thing that I'm kind of scared to go in any point, because if I start too early, then I'll be bored sick before I get to the more recent stuff, and if I go in halfway through, I feel like I've missed important plot points. Would you say that you can go in any point throughout Star Trek, or do you think there's particular points that you have to go over before you can watch the rest of it?
Well, okay, so like I said, I can't say anything about the original series because I haven't seen it. But that movie, Wrath of Khan, I think as long as you have a basic understanding of, like, this is Spock, this is Kirk, and this is basically what... Actually, you don't even really need to know much about how the Star Trek universe functions, really, for that movie. Like, you could just jump right in, and it'd still be a good movie.
Yeah, as long as you know the basic roles that they perform, then it's something that you can follow along, even if you don't know the backstory of the particular character.
Right, because like I said, that movie is less... It's less about the universe and less about the any pre-existing plots, and more just about kind of a character drama, a battle of wits between these two people. Then the only other thing I'd say and again, with the series, I can't say much about the original one because I haven't seen it. But with Next Generation, I watched it the whole way through. That being said, I watched it the whole way through over the course of like 2 years, so there was a lot of breaks in between. But most of the episodes are pretty self-contained. As long as you have a basic understanding of, like, who some of the characters... Even that you don't need a lot of the time. There are some plots that go over multiple episodes, some character development that happens throughout the series. But Star Trek The Next Generation, I feel like you could jump in just about anywhere.
Nice.
Probably not the same for Stargate. Those tend to have long-arching plots that go throughout the entire series.
Gotcha.
There's a lot of good sci-fi out there. There's a lot of bad sci-fi out there, too.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
I always kind of think of it as just like those kind of programs, kind of like Space D&D.
Yeah.
It's always just you've got the party, you know all the characters, and each session there's a new issue that has to be sorted.
Yeah, exactly.
But we are running over, so...
We are seriously running... I mean, we've run the gambit. We went from 5,000 years ago to a few hundred years in the future.
Yeah, Troy to the future.
And beyond. Okay. What is that from? I don't know.
What?
I don't... I quoted something from a sci-fi series.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I have no idea. I'm not going
to infinity and beyond.
It's Buzz Lightyear.
Buzz Lightyear, yeah.
It's quoting Buzz Lightyear. I don't know
what a role model.
I don't know why I thought that was from Star Trek. It's cool.
Oh boy.
Oh my God.
Anyway,
with that horrible misquotation at the end, we're gonna end segment 2 there. Get hyped for segment 3 because we're actually we have a theme for this one. We're playing a game. If you don't know what it is, well, we'll explain it at the beginning of the next segment. But we're going to be playing a game where we read through a unique short story known as the Eye of Argon. So stay tuned for that. But thank you for listening. And we are back with the TMCJ podcast. We are on segment number 3, which is a very special segment today.
It's always special, Kaiser. Ooh. Shiny special. Sorry. Oh. Ruh-roh.
Oh, there we go. No, it just wasn't. It wasn't showing that it was recording, but it was recording. That was weird.
Okay, it couldn't take the glare of the shininess of the special.
God. So, that's probably coming through the mic.
Did you just pour a glass or something?
Yeah, I've got this lime seltzer water that I've been drinking. That I found.
Fascinating.
You can get like a 30-pack of this stuff on Amazon for like $10. Speaking of Amazon shopping, I actually bought this during the last podcast.
Yeah, I remember you saying, actually. You've been on quite the spree.
Anyway, that has nothing to do with this. That sidetrack aside, we are playing a very special game during this segment, this third segment of the podcast here. And that is a old literary game, reading through The Eye of Argon by Jim Thies. So basically the way this game goes, and I will read through the rules before we start, but the gist of it is there is this short story that was written for a fan fiction magazine back in the 70s by some guy named Jim Thies. It is littered with spelling mistakes and poor writing decisions in general, and just hilarious metaphors. And the game, roughly, and I'll read the exact rules, is that every time somebody screws up reading or laughs at something that they've just read, then they have to switch with the other person. And you can play this
like I have the advantage on this. I feel like you really do struggle not to vocalize everything in your mind.
This is, I mean, yeah, it's an aspect of my character.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you may, but I have somewhat of an advantage as I've heard people play this game before. It's been a few years, but
I've never seen this. I'm not even looking at it now until the timer starts, as it were.
Yeah.
It's new to me.
And as you exclaimed before we hit record, it is 29 pages. We very likely won't go through the entire thing. We may just play for a half hour and then call it there.
Yeah.
But it is a priceless piece of reading. And you may be thinking this doesn't sound like it'll be actually entertaining to listen to. Having listened to people do this before, it is. It is. So the name of the game on this particular PDF, the somewhat official competitive reading edition of The Eye of Argon by Jim Thies, being possibly the worst story ever written. So
Am I allowed to look at the first page now?
well, I'm reading. I'm on page 2. I'm gonna start reading through the introduction, and then we can get into the game proper.
Okay.
So this version of the Eye of Argon duplicates, to as far as is practicable, and perhaps to somewhat beyond that point, the precise layout of the original as published in Ozfan 10, August 21st, 1970. While it is entirely possible that I have not achieved perfection, my goal was to create a version that presented word for word, line for line, page per page, the exact contents of the semi-mythical original. So here are the rules.
It looks like it just reminds me, probably because of the font they use, but it reminds me of the diffuse manual from Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes.
Yes, well, I mean, it was written on a typewriter in the 70s, so that is why, probably.
Okay.
So, how to play the game. The rules are simple, but are subject to change without notice, rhyme, or reason. The readers gather. One player is designated as the proofreader. One proofreader may serve for the entire game, but it is more fun if everyone takes turns in this job. There should be at least 2 identical copies of the text, one for the person reading aloud and one for the proofreader who reads along silently. Each player, in turn, reads the text aloud precisely as written and continues reading until he or she veers from the text or bursts out laughing. The role of the proofreader, or the ruling of the proofreader, is final. So basically, when I'm reading, you're the proofreader, and vice versa. So,
Gotcha. So
it's
you
your
call out the other person, yeah.
yeah, it's your job to call out the other person and say when it's time to switch. So when the text contains a typographical error, instead swilvered instead of swiveled, the reader must read the word as written, not correct it. In the case of a word that cannot be pronounced or has no self-evident pronunciation, under the usual rules of English, a good faith effort will be accepted. The group may elect to let a given reader keep going until the proofreader rules he or she made an error or laughs, or until a full page has been read. That's the other thing. If you get through an entire page, or you can play it one way, either an entire page or an entire chapter without fucking up or without laughing, then you automatically switch.
Gotcha.
No score is kept. There are no winners.
Okay. Are we going to have a little wager?
Oh, are we? What are we wagering?
I don't know. What can we wager? That's the real question. The loser has... I don't know why the first thing that came to my head was the loser has to play Lost Vikings.
Oh my god.
I don't know. Now Gentle Jousting's in my head. God, there's so many horrendous games out there.
We'll think of the bet as we go on, maybe.
We go, yeah.
But I'll lead us off, and so you'll be. So I'm on page 5 of the PDF. That's where the story begins.
Okay. Okay. It starts with tiny text, right? Okay.
Yeah, it does.
Page 27, it says.
Yeah, it's from the magazine. It was page 27 of a fan magazine.
Gotcha.
That's why it was. Okay.
Gotcha.
The Eye of Argon by Jim Thies. The weather-beaten trail wound ahead into the dust-racked climes of the barren land which dominates large portions of the Norgolian Empire, age-worn hoofprints smothered by the stifling sands of time.
Sifting.
Fuck! I already fucked up. Alright, fine. So, you pick up from age-worn hoofprints. I made it through a sentence and a half.
Yep, 1.5 sentences. To be fair, that was just a misread, though. That wasn't like... That was...
I mean, do you want me to keep going, or do you want to switch off already?
Do you want to get to the end of the paragraph?
I'll go to the end of the paragraph, and then we'll switch.
Good.
Age-worn hoofprints smothered by the sifting sands of time, shone dully against the dust... Yeah, shone.
Do you say it's shown?
Yeah,
so someone said shown to me.
Okay,
I think they meant
American
S-H-O-W-N.
versus British accent does not count.
Alright, I genuinely thought... Because Sean is a different... Shown and Sean are two... Anyway.
Yeah, they're pronounced... Shone and Shone are pronounced the same way in an American accent.
Okay, right, sorry. That's my bad.
Sands of time shone dully against the dust-splattered crust of Earth. The tireless sun cast its parching rays of incandescence from overhead. Halfway through its daily revolution, small rodents scampered about, occupying themselves in daily accomplishments of their dismal lives. Dust sprayed over 3 heaving mounts in blinding clouds while they bore the burdensome cargoes of their struggling overseers. Holy shit.
That's a lot of big, random fucking words to put into a sentence.
One thing that becomes obvious as you read through this, Jim Thies owned a thesaurus.
Yeah, no, I get... Well, he was the thesaurus by the looks of it.
Alright, so sorry, go on.
I don't know. I'm just going to kind of summarize the first paragraph. I don't understand. I have no idea what was just read. I spent so much time looking at the words and not thinking about the words, if that makes sense.
Literally, I'm pretty sure this first paragraph is just describing the horizon.
Yeah.
And it took an entire paragraph with like 85 adjectives to do that.
Yeah, I mean, okay, in the last sentence, they're talking about dust sprayed over 3... So basically, dust storm, a dust cloud, right? That's what they're talking about for the last sentence.
Yeah, they're literally talking about dusty mountains with clouds around them.
What are the struggling overseers?
I don't know. Only Jim Thies knows.
Burdensome cargoes, that's sand, of their struggling overseers.
Oh, 3 heaving mounts. Actually, I think they're talking about like a caravan. Like
mounts. I assume it was just
horses.
Some people say mounts for mountains.
I think they meant horses.
They'll spread over 3 heaving horses in blinding clouds. Nah.
Okay, whatever. Maybe. Let's not try to figure out the story. It's your turn next. Start at the word prepare.
Gotcha. Prepare to embrace your creators in the Stygian haunts of hell, barbarian. Gasped the first soldier. Only after you have kissed the fleeting steed of death, wretch, returned Grigner. A sweeping blade of flashing steel riveted from the massive barbarian's hide-enamelled shield as his rippling right arm thrust forth, sending a steel-shod blade to the hilt into the soldier's vital organs. The disemboweled mercenary crumpled from his saddle and sank to the clouded sward, sprinkling the parched dust with crimson droplets of escaping life fluid. The enthused barbarian swiveled about, his shock of fiery red hair tossing robustly in the humid air currents as he faced the attack of the defeated soldier's fellow in arms. "Damn you, barbarian!" shrieked the soldier as he observed his comrade in death. A gleaming scimitar smote a heavy blow against the renegade's spiked helmet, bringing a heavy cloud over the Ecordion's misting brain. Shaking off the effects of the pounding blow to his head, Grigner brought down his scarlet-streaked edge against the soldier's crudely forked hauberk, clanging harmlessly to the left side of his opponent. The soldier's steed whinnied as he directed the horse back from the driving blade of the barbarian. Grigner leashed his mount forward as the hoarsely piercing battle cry of his wilderness-bred race resounded from his grinding lungs. A twirling blade bounced harmlessly from the mighty thief's buckler as his rolling right arm cleft upward, sending a foot of blinding steel ripping through the Cimmerian's exposed gullet. A gasping gurgle from the soldier's writhing mouth as he tumbled to the golden sand at his feet and wormed agonizingly in his deathbed. Grigner's emerald green orbs glared lustfully at the walling soldier struggling before his chestnut-swirled mount. His scowling voice reverberated over the dying form in a tone of mocking mirth. "You city-bred dogs should learn not to antagonize your better." Reining his weary mount ahead, Grigner resumed his journey to the Norgolian city of Golzam, hoping to discover wine, women, and adventure to boil the wild blood coursing through his savage veins.
Okay, you actually made it through a whole page. That's good.
I bet there were a couple of words which I went back on.
I know, I saw that.
I corrected them in my head, and I was like, no, that's not what it says.
Oh my god. Yeah, there was a few points where I was trying to hold back laughing. I forgot this.
Yeah, I heard your chuckle in the background at one point. It's... I find myself... I don't know, it's very... I can't describe what was happening with my mouth at the time, but it was like... It was like when you've put too much in your mouth at once, and you're like trying to speak whilst you have like 10 hazelnuts crammed in your mouth, and you're like just trying to keep it all in. That's the weird sensation it gave me.
Yeah, it gives new definition to word salad.
Yeah, I mean, what's a hauberk? I was gonna read it as halberd.
Halberd. So it's like a type of chest armor essentially.
Oh, is it actually a thing? Okay.
Yeah. It's an actual thing.
Now.
Medieval words. All right. So I'll pick up on the next page.
Yeah, go for it.
The trek to Gorzam was forced upon Grigner when the soldiers of Kryn were leashed upon him by a faithless concubine he had wooed. His scandalous activities throughout the Sumerian city had unleashed throngs of havoc and uproar among its refined patricians, leading them to tack a heavy reward over his head. He had barely managed to escape through the back entrance of the inn he had been guzzling in as a squad of soldiers pounced upon him. After spilling a spout of blood from the leader of the mercenaries as he dismembered one of the officer's arms, he retreated to his mount to make his way towards Gorzam, rumored to contain hordes of plunder and many young wenches for any man who has the backbone to wrest them away.
I will just say, it's Gorzom, not Gorzam.
Is it Gorz? Oh, Gorzam. Okay.
But yeah, forget it. Just keep going.
Arriving after dusk in Gorzam, Gringar descended
Wait,
down.
there was no space there.
Arriving after dusk in Gorzam, Gringar. There's a comma.
Yeah, but
there may be no space, but there's a comma. Descended down a dismal alley, reining his horse before a beaten tavern. The red-haired giant strode into the dimly lit hostelry. That okay.
It's not a word, but it's how I pronounce it.
Hostelry, reeking of foul odors and cheap wine. The air was heavy with choking fumes spewed from smoldering torches.
Spewing.
What?
Spewing and smoldering torches is one word.
Okay, fine. I've done mild
Sorry.
fuck-ups multiple times. You can take
I'm
over.
being a grammar Nazi on something where the grammar is so bad.
I know. Well, that's how you're supposed to play the game. You're right. You can start at the air.
Sorry, I'll stop being such a dick.
No, it's your turn. I did fuck up several things.
You want me to say the annoying, stupid bit then?
Yep,
Okay.
Yep, it's your turn now. You're at the air.
Okay. The air was heavy, with choking fumes spewing from smouldering torches, encased within Thaden's earthen-packed walls. Tables were clustered with groups of drunken thieves and cutthroats tossing dice or making love to willing prostitutes. Eyeing a slender female crouched alone at a nearby bench, Grigner advanced, wishing to wholesomely occupy his time. The flickering torches cast weird shafts of luminescence dancing over the half-naked harlot of his choice. Her stringy orchid twines of hair swaying gracefully over the lithe, opaque nose as she raised a half-drained mug to her pale red lips. Glancing upward, the alluring complexion noted the stalwart giant as he rapidly approached. Fuck. That's fuck.
Yeah, that's that's that. Can we just talk about that description? Like, just
yeah, I mean, I was laughing at tossing dice, and then I realised that the next few words were making love to willing prostitutes, and that sobered me up.
Oh my god. I also love the best way he could describe her nose was opaque.
Yeah, lithe opaque.
Opaque, as in not see-through. That's good to know.
Isn't lithe like
lithe
quick
is,
on their feet?
Yeah, lithe is you would describe like a jaguar as lithe.
Damn, that nose is like a jaguar.
Oh my god! All right,
it's not even transparent.
I'm at glancing, right?
Yep.
Glancing upward, the alluring complexion noted the stalwart giant as he rapidly approached. A faint glimmer sparked from the pair of deep blue ovals of the amorous female as she motioned toward Grignar, enticing him to join her. The barbarian seated himself upon a stool at the wench's side, exposing his body, naed, save for a loincloth, brandishing a long steel broadsword, an iron spiraled battle helmet, and a thick leather sandals. To her unobstructed view.
A thick leather sandals.
Yes. I like the line, exposing his body.
Yeah, nay Ed.
That's, for all those people out there, that's how you really, that's how you flirt with a woman. You just walk up and rip your shirt off.
I mean, not many barbarians have shirts. Also, Grigner, very close to Grognak, the barbarian.
Clearly, they copied this.
Yeah.
All right. Thou hast need to occupy your time, barbarian, questioned the female. Question mark is at the end, not at the end of this quote, but at the end of that. Only if something worth offering is within my reach, stated Grigneras.
All right, come on, man.
That's how it's written, Grigneras.
Yeah, I know, but you're like Grigner ass.
Okay, you can take over again.
Finish that sentence anyway.
Okay, stated Grigneras. His hands crept to embrace the tempting female who welcomed them with open willingness. He's really emphasizing the consent here.
There's a lot of willingness, yeah. What are they even talking about? What's he reaching out?
I think he's I think he's just like, I don't know, is he playing some grab ass here? Like, what the hell is going on?
Some Grigner ass?
Grigner ass. Oh my god.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, so you're at open willingness is the last thing I read, so you're at from.
Yeah. From where do you come, barbarian? And by what are you called? Gasped the complying wench as Grigner smothered his lips with the blazing touch of his flaming mouth.
It's actually her lips, I want to point out, not his lips.
Oh, shit.
You read it as if he's kissing himself.
I mean, I'm just wondering what he's got to have a flaming mouth.
Again, the complying wench.
Oh my god, do you want me to continue or?
No, I'm calling that. I'm switching back.
Okay.
We're at the end of the page anyway, so even if I go to the end. Alright. The engrossed Titan ignored
wait, hang on, I just see what's coming up ahead. Are we sure we're okay to say this?
Yes, we are.
Okay. Wait, before we do that, if anyone is not looking for any gory details, maybe...
Yeah,
see the next podcast.
I will say,
don't skip ahead.
I probably should have said off the bat, there is some, despite all the terrible, tortured metaphors and adjectives in this story, there is some explicit sexual details and violence in it.
Yeah, I really hope my voice doesn't carry through the door, but of the room I'm in.
Alright, here we go. The engrossed Titan ignored the queries of the inquisitive female, pulling her towards him and crushing her sagging nipples into his urination.
No, you're so fucked. No.
Crushing her... I wasn't prepared for sagging.
That's what I saw, and I was like, maybe we shouldn't...
I wasn't prepared for the word sagging.
Okay. Alright, shall I do that line?
No, I mean, you can if you want to, or you can start after it.
Okay.
Oh my god.
Without struggle, she gave in, winding her soft arms around the harshly bronzed hide of Grignar corded shoulder blades, as his calloused hands caressed her firm protruding busts.
Okay.
You make love well, wench, admitted Grignar as he reached for the vessel of pee. What? Is that actually meant to be...
I think he just double typed.
Okay, as he reached for the vessel of pea-potent wine, his charge had been quaffing. A flying foot caused the mug Grignar had taken hold of, sending its blood-red contents sloshing over a flickering crescent. Leashing tongues of bright orange flamed to the foot-trodden floor. That made no sense. That just made 0 sense.
They're trying to say someone kicked the wine out of his hand, but like that's what?
Leashing tongues of bright orange flame. Where's the flame?
Also, first of all, can we talk about how this prostitute in like 2 sentences she went from having sagging nipples to firm busts?
Did you? Yes, you did. Firm protruding busts. Well, a bust's like a head, isn't it?
Why? She's just holding up 2 little statues. This is so... I forgot how fucking stupid this story
This
was.
needs to be... Someone needs to have animated this.
Oh my god. Okay, next page.
You start, because I did
Yeah,
so
yeah.
many mistakes.
Yeah, and it's the next page anyway. Alright. Remove yourself, Sirrah. The wench belongs to me, blabbered a drunken soldier, too far consumed by the influences of his virile brew to take note of the superior size of his adversary. Grignar lithely bounced from the startled female. Bounded, fuck, okay, yeah, go.
Grignar lithely bounded from the startled female, his face lit up to an ashen red ferocity and eyes locked in a searing feral blaze towards the swaying soldier. "To hell with you, braggart!" bellowed the angered accordion as he hefted his finely honed broadsword. Alright, hang on, I need to laugh. I read bellowed the angered accordion. What?
Yeah, I think that's his country. He's not a musical instrument.
I want it to be a musical instrument though. Shit.
Also, can we talk about how he had his face lit up with an ashen red ferocity?
Yeah, I was like, ashen. That's like dark grey generally.
Yeah.
So lit up.
Anyway, so
Yeah. I feel like that's the problem we're gonna have here. We're gonna want to talk about every little segment as we say it.
We probably will. All right, let's try to press on.
Okay.
You were at the staggering.
It's like, okay, I'll continue.
I mean, you laughed. You want we can switch off. Yeah, you know what? Fuck it. I'm taking over.
Okay.
The staggering soldier clumsily reached towards the pommel of his dangling sword, but before his that doesn't count. You made me laugh. That does not count. You made me laugh.
What's this? A subversion of the rules.
Towards the pommel of his dangling sword, but before his hand ever touched the oaken hilt, a silvered flash was slicing the heavy air. The thews of the savage lashing right arm bulged from the glistening bronzed hide as his blade bit deeply into the soldier's neck, lopping off the confused head. Loping. Oh shit, it is loping. It's not lopping. Loping off the confused head of his senseless tormentor. Alright, it's you.
With a nauseating thud, the several opal toppled to the floor. No, it does say severed. I read it as several. Oh my god.
We're just you're anticipating him to fuck up.
I thought in my head it was severed, so I was like, it can't be that. It must be several opal. And I was going to laugh about it later when we stopped, but I was like, oh shit, it's actually severed.
In 2 pages, you've completely lost any faith in this guy's writing ability.
Absolutely. Fucking hell. Alright, you go for it.
Alright. With a nauseating thud, the severed oval toppled to the floor as the segregated... yeah, that does say segregated.
Yeah,
as the segregated torso of Grignar's bovine antagonist swayed, then collapsed in a pool of swirled crimson. In the confusion, the soldiers' fellows confronted Grignar with unsheathed cutlasses directed towards the latter's scowling makeup. The slut should have picked his quarry more carefully, roared the victor in a mocking baritone growl as he wiped his dripping blade on the prostrate form and returned it to its scabbard. The fool should have shown more prudence, however. You shall rue your actions while rotting in the pits, stated one of the sprawled soldier's comrades. Grignar's hand began to remove his blade from its leather housing, but retarded the motion in face of the blades waving before his face. Dismiss your hand from the hilt, barbarian, or you shall find a foot of steel sheathed in your gizzard. Grignar weighed his position, observing his plight, whereupon he took the soldier's advice as the only logical choice. To attempt to hack his way from this predicament could only warrant certain death. He was of no mind to bring upon his own demise if an alternate path presented itself. The will to necessitate his life force upon him to yield to the...
Whoa,
Wait, what?
there's no upon.
What did I do there? The will...
You said the will to necessitate his life upon him, as opposed to forced him.
Yeah, I skipped a... Okay, you can...
I will say, you know how before this, you're like, does this... When I say this in Spanish, does it sound natural?
Yeah.
You're doing the same thing here right now.
It's,
you're dividing the sentence up into like 3 words, and you go do 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 with like every 3 words.
It's a defense technique to try and stop me from fucking up.
It is. It lets you read the next 3, and then you can like, yeah.
Okay. So the will to necessitate is where I fucked up. So you can start there.
Okay. Yeah. The will to necessitate his life forced him to yield to the superior force in hopes of a moment of carelessness, later upon the part of his captors, in which he could effect a more plausible means of escape. You may steady your arms, I will go without a struggle. Your decision is a wise one, yet perhaps you would have been better off had you forced death. The soldier's mouth wrinkled to a sadistic grin of knowing mirth, as he prodded his prisoner on with the sword point.
Yeah.
I know I said the sword point instead of his, but I was right at the end.
Yeah, I was at the end anyway. I was about to switch off. I will say that this barbarian is surprisingly philosophical.
Very literate, yeah.
Yeah.
Quite the debate going over his wench.
I'm trying to keep an eye on the clock. We probably have enough time to...
shit, we're already at 31 minutes.
We're already at 31 minutes. We've been reading this for a while now.
God.
If you want to do... Let's do one more page and then we'll call it.
We'll call it. Yeah.
And maybe if people end up liking this, we can go back and maybe try another one later.
If someone gives us feedback and says they like it, then we'll do more of it for sure.
Okay. After an indiscriminate period of marching through slinking alleyways and dim moonlighted streets, the procession confronted a massive seraglio. What the fuck? Seraglio?
I don't know. It's not a word.
Okay, seraglio. The palace area was surrounded by an iron grating with a lush garden upon all sides.
No.
What?
Upon all... Wait.
Yeah, lush garden upon all sides. That's what it says.
Yeah, you're fine. Ignore me.
The group was admitted through the gilded gateway, and Grignar was led along, one word, a stone pathway bordered by plush vegetation, lustfully enhanced by the moon's shimmering rays. Upon reaching the palace, the group was granted entrance, and after several minutes of explanation, led through several winding corridors to a richly draped chamber. Confronting the group was a short, stocky man, seated upon a, one word, golden throne. Tapestries of richly draped regal blue silk covered all walls of the chamber, while the steps leading to the throne were plated with sparkling white ivory. The man upon the throne was a naked wench. What?
Had a
naked... Okay, you can take over from there.
That's one of those words that's slightly important.
I love how I read the sentence, and then when it clicked in my head what I said aloud, I'm like, wait, what?
The man was a naked wench.
The man seated upon the throne was a naked wench. Oh my god.
I feel like this is something that people should give people to do a citizenship test. If they can read this, they are better than English.
If they can read this, they clearly haven't learned the language properly.
I mean, I can't say it was... I
know.
Okay.
Yeah, at the naked wench man.
Yeah, thank you. The man... Wait, hang on.
Yeah, the man.
Sorry, I totally... Sorry. The man upon the throne had a naked wench seated at each of his arms, and a trusted advisor seated in back of him. At each corner of the chamber, a guard stood at attention, with upraised pikes supported in their hands, golden chainmail adorning their torsos, and barred helmets emitting scarlet plumes enshrouding their heads. The man rose from his throne to to the dais surrounding it. His plush turquoise robe dangled loosely from his chunky frame. The soldiers Grigna fell to their knees, with heads bowed to the stone masonry of the floor, in fearful dignity to their sovereign liege. Explain the purpose of this intrusion upon my chateau. Your serenity, resplendent in noble grandeur, we have brought this yokel before you. The soldier gestured towards Grigna. For the redress of your all-knowing wisdom in judgment regarding his fate. Down on your knees, lout, and pay proper homage to this sovereign, commanded the pudgy noble of Grigna.
Yeah, I'm gonna pay proper homage to your sovereign.
Yeah, not the bugger.
Alright.
Okay, I was so close to laughing.
You... Wait, at what part?
His plush turquoise robe dangled loosely from his
chunky frame. Yep.
Yeah.
Alright. By the surly beard of Mrifk, Grignar kneels to no man, scowled the massive barbarian. You dare to deal this blasphemous act to me? You are indeed brave, stranger, yet your valor smacks of foolishness. I find you to be the only fool, sitting upon your pompous throne, enhancing the rolling flabs of your belly in the midst of your elaborate luxury yard. Oh, luxury and.
Luxury and.
I had a hard time with enhancing the rolling flabs of your belly. That
you did that part really well. It was when it got to elaborate that you.
Yeah, elaborate is luxury and that.
Yeah.
Combo word that fucked me over. All right, you're at the soldier.
The soldier. Yep. The soldier standing at Grigna's side smote him heavily in the face with the flat of his sword, cutting short the harsh words and knocking his battered helmet to the masonry with an echoing clang. The paunchy noble's sagging round face flushed suddenly pale, then pastely, lit up to a lustrous cherry-red radiance. His lips trembled with malicious rage, while emitting a muffled sibilant gibberish. His sagging flabs rolled like a tub of upset jelly, then compressed, as he sucked in his gut in an attempt to conceal his softness. That was disgusting.
This guy, he's just describing him as the Blob.
Yeah.
He's some kind of a slime monster. He's not even a human.
It's Jabba the Hutt. Draped in a plush turquoise robe, dangled loosely from his chunky frame.
And he's apparently also a naked wench.
He is.
Oh my god. Okay, that's right, we can stop there. We're at like 40 minutes.
Also, what, 3 pages?
Yeah, that was. Yeah, I think we got through about 3 pages. Where are we? We're on page. We just finished page 8. No. So we started on page 5. So 5, 6, 7. Yeah, we read 4 whole pages.
Yep.
Out of 29.
Honestly, that felt like 10 minutes, not 40 minutes.
Oh my god. Yeah, maybe in the future, in a few weeks, if we don't have a segment 3, we'll have to come back to this. But
yeah.
Yeah. If people are listening to this, people enjoyed this segment, let us know what you thought of it.
Yep. It was a little bit different this week.
Oh my god. But what did you think, Blue? Was it was it what you were expecting?
Was
like
a roller coaster of emotion. Yeah, it got from. It's just so heavily descriptive that I can't really take in the story. I mean, I know the story because only like 3 things have happened in the last 4 pages.
It's true.
And they've just been teleporting from place to place. But because this is a good lesson that over alliteration does not always help the character in the scene.
Yeah, you want to. What the quote? I think it was Mark Twain who said this, but the quote was, "If I had more time, I'd write a shorter story."
Right.
The idea is like too much detail like that just kind of hurts it. But in that case, it's just somebody it's the equivalent these days of writing something in Microsoft Word and using the synonym function and just putting in every single one of them.
Yeah, I imagine this is what most what's the word, fan fiction reads like. I've never read fan fiction, so I don't know. But this is the kind of thing that I feel that probably looks like. Oh, pardon me. Yeah, so next week we're reading 50 Shades of Grey. No,
yeah, we'll just, segment 3, we'll just make an audiobook.
And all of its flabby wenches. Sorry, that's disturbing. Oh, God.
I was trying. There were so many times when you were reading, I had to like cover my mouth because I was gonna like laugh into the mic.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to laugh while you were reading.
No,
Some of it was just so funny.
It's fine. Oh my god!
Especially when you were like reading the sentence, but as you went through the sentence, you got more confused by what was coming out of your mouth.
Yeah.
And I could just see your face in my mind's eye, just being like, "What the fuck am I saying?"
Imagine it's what it's like to be possessed. You just your mouth and body are doing things, and you just don't understand what's going on.
And you're making up new words that you never thought of. It like luxury yard. That's not a word, but it makes more sense than luxury and combined into one.
Your brain just desperately tries to make sense of what's in front of you.
It's just throwing a dart and hoping you hit the board.
Jim Thighs, truly a savant.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Okay.
Anyway, we should really wrap up though, 'cause it's getting on a bit.
We have gone on for quite a bit. So this is the end of segment 3 and the entire podcast in general. If you have enjoyed us, please come back and listen again. And if you enjoyed listening to us struggle to get through that terrible short story, let us know and we'll maybe do something like this again in future segment 3s.
Yep.
But in either case... oh, sorry.
I was just going to say, and remember, if it's easier to listen to us on Spotify or something else like that, by all means.
It's true.
It's probably easier than, having to have an internet connection the whole time while you listen to us.
That's true, yep. We are now available in full audio format, so,
Yep.
Plenty of ways to listen. But, yep, if you've listened all the way to the end, thank you for listening, and we hope you will come back again soon.
See you next week.